All right, everybody, welcome back. Welcome back to another episode of the Leverage Podcast. We're looking forward to having our guest today. I'm going to get to know him a little bit virtually, and I can't wait to hear a lot of his story around what he's building and how they're using various methodologies to go out and get short-term rentals. You know my background per se is in that real estate space, so I'm always eager to learn more and how people are doing things creatively. Obviously, we all know wealth is a lot of based on properties and assets, and real estate is really a great place. So, Bayne Royal, tell us a little bit about who you are and how you make money, my friend.
Yes, sir. So my name is Bayne. I started a company to invest in real estate about 3 years ago. Brought in a partner at one point, and we are not strictly, but mostly focused on short-term rentals and creative acquisitions. So we do what's called the stack method deal. It's basically bringing the seller in for their equity as a partner in the company. So we can do very little capital outlay and scale pretty fast. So we do our underwriting based on these deals. We buy them from wholesalers, and we're also doing our own marketing as well, direct to seller. Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. So who's like kind of a target, audience or target avatar consumer for you? I would assume it could be one, obviously wholesalers, as you mentioned. Two would be I would assume just your standard homeowners, right, that are looking to get out from underneath the property or whatnot. So maybe tell us a little bit about who your ideal kind of client is.
Yeah, honestly, our ideal client is like a mom and pop investor that maybe has like a couple properties, but they're running it themselves. They're living near the property. They're fixing the toilets, like that sort of thing. They don't have a marketing strategy. They don't have a design team, and they're kind of just done with it, right? So the investor part of it is, they understand creative structures a little better. So the conversation is a little easier than just like a hard pitch. So that's really our ideal avatar as we find them. We have a good strategy for increasing revenue, and we can also negotiate good terms with the seller as well.
Okay. Yeah, I've always found, obviously being a real estate agent myself for 13, 15 years, whatever it was. They basically, investors were some of my favorites because there was just no emotions attached, right? It was either we came to terms or we didn't, and that was okay. And we went on with our merry day. So always appreciated that aspect of it. What's kind of the biggest thing you're focused on growing right now within your business?
So we have a goal of 100 doors by the end of 2027. We're currently at 11. We have, I think, 4 in escrow right now. So we are on track for it, but that's our goal. Our revenue goal is to break $1 million net by the end of 2027 as well.
Nice. Love that goal. What does it take to get there, right? I guess it's the 100 doors, right?
Yeah, so that's just like kind of a rough number because we average about $1,000 profit, after all expenses on each door, or at least from our projections. And that varies wildly, right? Like a lot of our strategy is more of an equity play. We see this market going up. We may break even on cash flow, but in 7 years, this property is going to be worth double. So it's kind of balancing that. But yes, our cash flow goals are kind of, just a numbers game at this point.
Yeah, absolutely. And I always appreciate people that can read the numbers, understand the numbers, and focus on the numbers. So many business owners don't, right? They just fly by emotions and they don't make decisions based on that. So I'm always kind of curious to see like how do you guys determine what that looks like as far as the, without going into too depth, because obviously you can get pretty complicated with the numbers. But, over for me, like you mentioned, I have a property we talked about earlier in Scottsdale. And for me, because I had another business partner on it, I bought him out, and therefore I refinanced it at the time. I probably had the cash, but I just wanted the liquidity of it. But with that being said, right, my interest rates kind of went up from the 2021 market. So the cash flow on that's not as strong, right? And that's a more like a break-even equity play because we already had a couple $100,000 in equity into it, right? But I have 2 other properties, right, that are cash flowing really well. So I kind of look at it as a total portfolio strategy, which I'm assuming is kind of what you do too, right? Is you're like, hey, there's going to be some that are break even. There's going to be a bunch that are positive cash flow, and at the end, they are all, in theory, equity gains. So how do you kind of look at your portfolio and kind of look at that?
Yeah, so right now we're targeting growth. We are focused on the cash flow, and then the long-term equity plays, we kind of pepper those in. But yeah, it is kind of a portfolio balancing strategy. We do some like BRRRRs as well to kind of increase the actual, because we're over leveraging on a lot of these stack deals. We want to deleverage as well at the same time to maintain that balance and reduce risk. So we're doing that as well to kind of keep that portfolio kind of, I think David Green calls it portfolio architecture, but kind of maintaining that idea of a balanced play and kind of spreading your risk out.
Yeah, that makes sense. Because I see a lot of, landlords that just aren't real knowledgeable, educated, experienced, wherever the case want to be, right? And they become over leveraged, if you will, right? They're not getting the rent they need. The tenant moves out for, the lease ends. I can't find a new tenant for 4 months. A hailstorm comes in, wrecks the roof, right? All of these things compile, and all of a sudden, right, they didn't have enough reserves built into their model, and they end up struggling and either having to move back in or just offloading the house. So one thing that's cool about watching businesses, right, they understand all those risks and they usually have the necessary reserves, right? And worst case is if they got to sell a couple of properties to get some equity back, and then they can obviously survive.
Right.
What's kind of your emergency plan? Like what do you guys look at? Do you look at, just shift gears for a minute? Are you guys, as a business, do you look for like 3 months reserves, 6 months operating reserves? Kind of what's your mindset around that?
Yeah, well, right now, because we don't have the size of the portfolio to kind of like stabilize the entire portfolio, on each deal, we want to see at least 6 months of reserves. We take into account the capex that we see and the capex that we can expect in the future before. Usually these terms have like balloons on them. Typically, we want a minimum of a 7-year balloon. So, okay, what do we expect to break in the next 7 years? Do we have the capital for that? And so we just basically accumulate all that, make sure that that is in a reserve account, and that's kind of our risk barrier.
Right. Okay. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. What kind of gives you the most leverage today in your business? Is it kind of AI? Is it people? Is it partnerships? What does that look like from a quote unquote leverage standpoint?
Wow. So definitely people and AI. I couldn't tell you which one is, well, probably the people are more important, right? I mean, you need people to run the AI. So, but yeah, we have a VA. We're actively hiring an operations manager right now, and then we have a couple people on the acquisition side. And I use AI literally every day. I mean, it's so powerful. It's so, I get so much more done with it. We have the $200 package or whatever with Claude. So I'm constantly building contracts, risk, testing my theories and seeing what kind of pushback I can get, all sorts of stuff.
Yeah, it's interesting because, I'm an old schooler, right? I'm in my 50s. I've been in business or corporate world for a long time. And, one of the leaders and mentors I followed for a long time was really interesting to me, probably like 6, 8, maybe even 10 years ago. He was like, AI was coming, right? He knew it. Because you had, even in the very onsets of, Hey Siri, right? Stuff like that. I mean, even some of that stuff was some of the early phases of AI being adopted in. And I bring that up because it's interesting because he's like, hey, he goes, I would not be surprised if this is the next greatest industrial revolution. Like literally, what was the last one, right? Trains, steam engines. Like he was like, I think that's going to be it. Like, I'm not BSing you. And I do. It's a game changer. Like I said, but you made a great point, right? Like today's environment, I think everybody gets a little bit freaky because they're just like, it's going to take over. I don't know. Maybe it does. None of us have a crystal ball. However, I will tell you, in today's environment, you can't do it without people, right? It's a high leverage. It's giving people a better leverage, right? And getting more done faster, but it's still a people driven software, right?
Yeah.
Very good. So let's talk a little bit about, where you kind of, since kind of a leverage show, where you spend too much of your time, right? Where are you not leveraging enough in your business model?
Interesting. Yeah, probably underwriting and like following up with like wholesalers and leads, deals, that sort of thing.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yep.
Yeah.
Go ahead. Yeah. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you
off.
No.
I was just saying, yeah, I feel like I hit a maximum of amount of hours per day. And when I hit that maximum, I'm like, okay, how can I get another person to do this job, or, technology basically to
Yeah,
replace.
that's smart. And I look at like AI as like it's going to allow us to do more, but it's still if we don't have the right structure, the right systems, the right stuff built out, we're especially as high achievers, we're just going to keep going and going and going, right? And that just means in today's environment versus 5 years ago, you're getting a lot more done, but you're still pushing the envelope to do more, right? Generally, not I would say you specifically, but most entrepreneurs fall into that mindset. And eventually leverage has to come in more capacities, like you said. Maybe it's additional AI, maybe it's more people. But I look at the smartest people out there, they're the most successful, that have the best quality lives, right? And they have built an organization in some capacity that obviously includes people.
Right.
What's something that you've stopped doing that kind of helped you grow faster?
I would say answering guests and doing the kind of operation side of the actual like managing the STR.
Yep.
So, my partner handles like the high level, but we're actively hiring in that area so we can kind of completely replace ourselves and focus more on the acquisition and high level, overall business structure.
Yeah, I love that. And it's a lot of things I coach around, right? Is everything like I'm a big believer in Dan Martell's book, Buy Back Your Time. Hint, if you haven't read that, I highly encourage you to do that. With that book, though, it talks a lot about is like you're replacing yourself and moving yourself up the value ladder, right? It's like your best time and use isn't necessarily responding to emails or honestly, sometimes even handling complaints, right? Those are handled at a paid position level. Your best job, as you mentioned earlier, is more sales, more acquisitions, right? Generating more creative solutions and strategies, right? And a lot of times people get buried down into the weeds of the business and working in the business instead of working on the business, right? So, however, you guys it sounds like you guys have kind of like learned that path, and you're able to hire an operations manager, as you alluded to, and that's going to allow you to focus on those larger value plays.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No,
Go ahead.
no, please. Sorry.
No, you're good. You're good. I wasn't sure if you had an answer to that or not. It wasn't a question, but I wanted you to have a little more to it. What's up?
No. Yeah, I mean, I think you said it perfectly. The buying back the time, and I think a lot of business owners struggle with. They understand the concept of, hey, I need to work on the business, but not in the business, and yet they don't have the capital and the business demands, certain things to be done, right? So they're constantly spending their time, but you need to allocate time to work on the business, or you'll never do that.
Yeah, absolutely. I've told guests in the past, like one of my things that I learned it seems so simple, but so many people don't do it is I used to take my staff like 30, or at least my leaders, and I would bring them in for like 30 minutes to an hour, or we would do it over a lunch once a week. And it was truly just to put a whiteboard up and say, there are no crazy ideas. Like, I don't care if you say we should build a house on the moon, right? Like let's just throw ideas on the paper, because it just kept the creative juices flowing. Obviously, we weren't executing on 99.9% of it, but it just kept people in the 10,000-foot level, always thinking about what's next, what's possible, right? What's a lesson that you've learned the hard way?
Oh, what's a lesson I've learned the hard way? Trust but verify.
Mm-hmm.
So, I think business moves at the speed of trust, and it's very important to, assume people have good intentions, but it's not always the case, unfortunately. So a lot of our systems are built around protecting ourselves and our assets and our people and our team, because we've been burned in the past by various things. So it's not the assumption that people are going to act maliciously, but in the case that, they would, what protections have we built in place to
Sure.
prevent
Yeah, I
that?
look at it almost like we're very much in that same camp, right? But I'm also more seasoned, a little more older, and so therefore I've experienced a lot of heartache and burn by human beings. So instead of going
Yeah.
crotchety and old, I try to go trust but verify.
Yeah.
What trends are you paying attention to right now?
Definitely keeping up with the AI. I mean, I feel like we use a lot of it, but it's still, there are people building some crazy stuff out there with it. So we're trying to keep up with the trends. It's moving at lightning speed, so it's to do. But yeah, so I mean, I think that, and then obviously paying attention to markets and where we're trending.
Yeah, what kind of like barriers do you put into place, right? And I use like barriers, but like guardrails is probably the better word for AI, right? Because what I am afraid a lot of owners are going to do is chase the next best and greatest thing, right? When what they
Mm.
have actually works, right? And so, do you guys have like some kind of methodology or protocol as to you determine when you want to, move up? Like, a lot of people go from Chat GPT to Claude, right? Or they have both and they compete them against each other. But, it is like starting over again each time you get a new software, right? And so
Yeah.
it does take time, and there's never any guarantees of the success of that software either. So I'm just kind of curious. I always ask guests this sometimes is what is your thinking on that, guardrails? How do you make a decision to add an AI versus just get sold on something?
Um, so I don't know if this would answer your question, but we're actively training an AI right now to handle most of the guest communication.
Hmm.
So right now we don't have it auto replying, right? It'll basically generate a reply based on our SOPs and the stuff we put in about the property. Most of the time it's good, some of the time it's not. So we're kind of training it, and then we're going to kind of start building in certain rules where it can take autonomous replies,
Hmm.
based on certain things. So we'll start on low level, and then basically train it to escalate things that it needs a human in the loop for.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. No, that makes sense. A lot of programming there, and obviously, it's a lot of experiential learning, right? Which is what's kind of cool about those softwares and tools. A lot of time to build it up, but it's extremely efficient once it's
Yeah.
ready to go and gives you the output that you desire. What is one piece of leverage advice you'd give someone trying to grow to the next level?
Well, I guess I can only really speak on the level I'm at,
Mhm.
and starting from nothing. You're gonna have more time than capital, so you need to use all of your time, right? Like if you're working a 9 to 5, you're gonna have to work a 5 to 9 as well. If you need to get off the ground, right? Sitting there complaining about, oh, I don't have enough money to do anything is an excuse. I
Yep.
think you can outwork anything, and you're gonna need to in the beginning.
Yeah, 1,000%. I ran a large team of real estate agents. I was 2025 across 5 different states, right? And that was my biggest complaint by realtors, right? Was they thought they treated it like a part-time job, expecting to make full-time money. And it's like that's not how life or reality or anything works. Oh, by the way, because you joined a team, we're going to get you there faster, but not with half the hours put into the day.
Right, right.
Uh, all right. Well, thanks. I'm going to go into our lightning round here real quick. So these will be super fast one sentence statements and just a real brief answer to it. What's your favorite business book?
Rich Dad, Poor Dad.
Yeah,
It's the
love
OG.
it. Yeah, love that. What is your best purchase under $100?
Mm, best purchase under $100. Probably Rich Dad, Poor Dad.
Exactly. Uh, Favorite AI tool?
Claude.
Okay. If I opened your app up, if I opened your phone and I looked at the time tracker on it as to what you spend the most time on app wise on your phone, what would that be?
We do all of our business on Facebook.
Cool. Okay. What is your most impactful habit, as in Bain?
Hmm. Most impactful habit. Uh, Opening my laptop and just doing the work.
Yeah, just knock it out. A belief you have that a lot of entrepreneurs might disagree with.
Hmm. You don't need money to start.
Yeah, yeah, like that. If you could track just one KPI or one number or one metric in your business, what would that be?
Net revenue.
Yeah. Let's see. One thing that you would say you would never delegate.
Hmm. Probably just the vision.
Yeah. Cool. Yeah. Vision, sometimes negotiating of your deals, some things like that, but even some of that stuff can be done. All right. I like to wrap the show up with everybody with kind of their version of what this is because everybody's slightly different. Is what is your definition of leverage?
Um, Being able to use a resource in order to accomplish more than you could without that resource.
Yeah, I love that. It's a great one. All right. Well, Bayne, if anybody wants to get a hold of you, we're going to wrap up the show today. How would they reach out to you, whether they've got properties they're looking at in the St. Petersburg area, whether they uh, just need some advice from you on how you're doing the stack method, things of that nature? What's the best way for them to reach out to you?
Yeah, message me in a DM on Facebook. If you have deals that you're looking to sell as a wholesaler, you can reach out to acquisitions at Royal with two L's estates.com. And if you're a property owner and you're sick and tired of guest complaints, but you still want to do the short-term rental stuff, we also manage property. You can reach out at statius.com to book a call.
Perfect. And as all my guests know, I do this podcast because I make a lot of cool people, a lot of businesses. We've got everything from dentists to chiropractors to real estate, you name it. We're having great times with everybody. And so anyways, we're also building this to be of value to you as the client or the audience, but also to our business partners that come in today. So reach out to me. Obviously you can hit the bell. You can type a comment down below on our YouTube channels. But Bayne, thank you so much for today. I really appreciate your time. I know it takes a lot to step away from your business, and I don't take that lightly. So really appreciate you coming in.
Yeah, thanks, Mike. I appreciate you having me.
Yes, sir.